everyone, Doc here. So for a lot of people, math's not too fun. So when I'm looking at math, I like to make sure that I know how to at least do the math that I might have to use someday. So today we're going to talk about something that whether or not you're going to go to college, you might take an SAT to go to college, or let's say you're not planning on going to college, you want to be a builder or a painter, or you might just need to know how much material that you will need to make something. All of these things come down to one topic, and that's called surface area. So today we're going to talk about surface area. Surface area. Okay, so first, let's just take a look at a figure called a cube. This is a cube. A cube looks like a square on all the sides. And a cube has 6 sides. Let's say that I needed to make a box or a square like this. Maybe I need to make a chest to keep my tools in, or maybe I need to make a square for some craft that I'm doing, or possibly I'm an engineer and I need to make a square and I need to know how much material that I'll need to make it. So we need to figure out how much material we would need, or at least know how much paint we would need to maybe cover all the sides. So how would we do that? Well, first, surface area has one important part in the name that we need to know how to do, and that is to find the area. Now, the area of a square, because that's what our cube looks like, it looks like a square on each side. The area of the square, we say, is length times the width. But we notice something a little bit different when it comes to a square. The length and the width are exactly the same. So instead of writing length and width, a lot of times you'll see people just say, it's just the side times the side. Okay, so here we have our cube, and we have all of our sides on a cube are the same. And it's kind of hard to see how many total sides that we have. So if I take this cube apart, I can lay it out in what's called a net and be able to see how many total sides we have. Now, when I lay out my net, this net actually kind of looks like a cross. And I count my sides. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. We can see that. Now, all of these are squares, and they're all the same. And to illustrate that a little bit better, I've pulled out some of my Legos so that I can show you that this is just made up of 6 squares. So here we go. So if I know the area of one of these squares, then I could find out how much my surface area is. So let's take a look at that. When I take a look at one of the squares and I bring my ruler over to measure it, I'm going to see that one side of the square is about 3 centimeters. One side of the square is 3 centimeters. Now, all the sides are the same on a square, but let's make sure that the other sides are 3 as well, just to make sure that we're correct, and they are. So we have a square that's a 3 by 3 square. Now, in order to find my area, I said all I have to do is take the one side times the other side, because all my sides are the same. They're all 3 all the way around. So I'm going to take 3 times 3, and I find out that my area of one of my squares is 9 centimeters, because I measured it in centimeters. And when it's area, we call it centimeters squared, oddly enough. Not just when we're doing squares, but we call it centimeters squared. So we put a little 2 up here like an exponent to show that it's squared. So let's go back to our net. So here I have all of these squares that are the same size. Okay, so I have all of these that are the same size. Now, if they're all the same size, then I know they are also all 9 centimeters squared as far as the area. So, if I have 6 of them, I just need to take my 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9. Now, another way to say 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9, sorry, get my head out of the way here. Another way to say this, 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9, there are 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is 9 times 6. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 6 is 54. So if I want to look at how much paint I would need to paint this, or how much material I would need to make this cube, that tells me that I'm going to need to at least have 54 square centimeters. Now, you might say, well, how do I know that? Here is the square put together again. When you go to purchase items, if you're buying paint or if you're buying material, you can buy it as far as square feet. So you can figure out, or I'm sorry, not square feet. You can buy it as square units. This way we're using centimeters. So what you would want to do is you're going to take a look at the paint can to figure out if you're going to have enough paint. You need to at least have 54 centimeters, square centimeters of paint, okay? Now, sometimes it might be in feet, and then we would have to talk about how you convert that from feet to centimeters. But that's a lesson for another time. Okay, so here we go. So here is our cube again. And then this is what it looks like if we spread it out as a net. And we see when it's a cube that we have 6 that are exactly the same. So if I know that 1 is 3 times 3, then I know that that's 9 square centimeters. And since I have 6 of them, then I take my 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9, and I have 9 times 6, which is 54 square centimeters. Now, let's do that again, but this time I'm going to ask you for your participation. So, I'm going to ask you to comment in the chat if you're with us live. If you're not with us live, you can go ahead and comment in the comment section of the YouTube page. So I'm going to move my cube out of the way here. And now I'm going to take a look at what's called a rectangular prism. So I'm going to erase my information here. Hopefully you got that. If not, you can always go back to the video. So I have rectangular prism, it's called. Rectangular prism. And it looks like this. Looks like most boxes that you see. Okay? So rectangular prism, like any kind of box. You can check it out here. Now, the question though is this. Rectangular prism, is that going to be the same as the cube? If I need to find the materials on how to make this rectangular prism, am I just going to find one of the sides and multiply it by 6 again? Well, rectangular prism is a little bit different. So, if we take the net of a rectangular prism, which simply means I'm going to take this and I'm going to open it up and spread it all out. Let's take a look at what it looks like. Let's look at the net of a rectangular prism. Here's my rectangular prism. Now, it's a little bit different than my square. And I don't want you to think that all shapes always end up looking like this. It just so happens that the square and the rectangular are similar. So when we open it up, both of these look like a cross. But they're not always that way. Now I want you to answer me. How many sides are the same as this side up here, number 1? How many sides are going to be the same as that number 1 side? Hopefully you notice that we have 4 that are the same. 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. So we have 4 rectangles, I'm going to abbreviate, the same. Okay, and I'm going to show you again with the Legos. I have 1, and they're not all the same color, but that's okay. 2, 3, and 4. 4 of these are exactly the same. Then I have 2 left over, and you might notice they look like they're squares, and they are squares in this. So when I take a look at these squares, I have 2 squares then . 2 squares. Now, so I have 4 rectangles that are the same, and I have 2 squares. Now I'm going to need your help with finding the total surface area. So the first thing that we need to know is, how big is the rectangle? How big is the square? Well, let's take a look at this rectangle, and I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure it. And I find out that one of the sides is 5 centimeters and the other side is 3 centimeters. So I have one side that's 5 centimeters and one side that's 3 centimeters. I'm going to move this down a little bit because we're just looking at the rectangle now. And I mean I have 5 by 3. So how do I find the area? Well, the area of a rectangle is length times width. And not all of my sides are the same, so it sticks with length times width. Now you tell me in the chat, what is the area of this one rectangle right here? Okay, so did you take 5 times 3 to get 15? And this is centimeters squared because we're talking about area, so we want to put centimeters squared. How many of these rectangles are exactly the same? We said we have 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 that are exactly the same. So I can either take 15 times 15 times 15 times 15, or since I have 4 15s, I will take 15 times 4 to get 60 square centimeters. So that's just for my rectangles. That's not the whole thing. If I want to get everything, I now have to look at my squares. So let's take a look at the squares. I have 2 squares left, and I need to find the area of these 2 squares. So in order to find the area of the 2 squares, I need to measure them as well. So when I measure my squares, I'm going to find out that just like my other cube, that each side is 3 centimeters. And I can double check to make sure, and it is in fact a square because all the sides are the same. So each side is 3 centimeters. So for my square, just like the last time, I'm going to take my area is going to be 3 times 3, side times side, because all my sides are the same. So I have 9 square centimeters. Okay, so now I know how many square centimeters one of these are, but I have 2. So since I have 2, I either add them together, 9 plus 9, or just take 9 times 2, and I will get 18 square centimeters. Now we're almost there, so I want you to tell me in the chat, what do you think is my total surface area for this rectangular prism? What is my total surface area for this rectangular prism? We have the rectangles and we have the squares. So you go ahead and put the answer in the chat and let me know what you think the total would be. Okay, let's see. Did you take the 60 that we got from the rectangles plus the 18 to get a total surface area of 78 square centimeters? If you did this and you answered 78 square centimeters, then you did the problem correctly. If you have any more questions though, please, you can send me your questions in the chat, or if you want to put a comment in the YouTube video, I'll try to get back to you there as well. So, my last question of the day, to make sure that everybody is here for attendance, I want you in the chat to tell me, what is this shape? The one that I'm holding in my hand. What is this shape? Put that answer in the chat so I can take attendance. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can put the answer there also. And as long as you get it in by the end of this week, you'll still be able to be counted for attendance for the week. Hope you all have a great day. Take care. This is Doc. Peace.